Okay, let's walk through an install of Ubuntu Server. Now, I am installing Ubuntu Server into a Hyper-V virtual machine. It's got 4 gigs of RAM, single processor, pretty generic. I do have it connected to an outside internet connection, so I can download updates and install software. Um, and I'm installing version 20. Now, it's not the current version of Ubuntu Server. I'm installing 20 because I'm hoping to be able to demo a distribution upgrade a little bit later on. So if you go to install the current version and you see a change in the install process, that would be why. So I'm going to click Start, and it will boot from my ISO or my CD. Now, I went down real quick because if you just leave it here, it'll automatically select that first option. And I wanted to talk about them real quick. So we can install Ubuntu Server. That's the default. If you just leave it alone for a few seconds, that's what it'll go with. We can boot from the next volume, look at firmware settings, or boot and install with the HWE kernel. Now I want the default one. Since I've hit enter, once you hit enter, or not hit enter, sorry, once you hit an arrow key to shift the options, then it won't automatically take the next option and you have to hit enter to actually do it. So I'm going to hit enter to start my server install. Okay, now it starts doing some integrity checks, installing some drivers. This is going to take it a little while. You may run into errors at this point. If you do, don't worry about it. It's not actually a major issue unless it comes up with an error that says, hey, I can't continue. Then we're looking at a major issue. And this will look a little bit different, by the way, if you are doing it on a system that is not connected to the internet. So it's loading. We're doing a bunch of cloud installs. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to select the language that I want. I can use my up and down arrow keys to move through the list. And when I get to the one that I want, I'm going to hit enter. And now, so that first one, and I can't use my mouse very well to point things out, so I'll try to as much as possible. Down here's where your options are going to be. So this information, your top part of your screen is just general information. And then this is how you're going to respond to whatever it's telling you up here. So there's an installer update. I can update, and again, I'm using my up and down arrow keys, update to the new installer, continue without updating, or go ahead and go back. So I'm going to go ahead and update to the new installer. So I'm going to move up to that option, and I can hit spacebar or I can hit enter. Either one of them will do it. So now it starts doing my download of my new installer. It gave me an error. So unknown error. So I'm going to go ahead and continue without updating, and let's see what it does for us. So keyboard language. Now you'll notice when I'm doing my up and down arrows, I can move all the way up here and choose different layouts. I can come up to here and help, and I'll use spacebar or enter to choose options. When I'm happy with what I want, I'm going to come down here and hit done, and that tells the installer I am done with this particular page. So I have Ethernet adapter, verifying that we have, or verifying all of our network connections. So I'm going to click done. I don't need a proxy address, so I'm just going to hit enter for done. Mirror address is fine. I can choose to use a different mirror. But if you're doing an install for the first time and you're just learning about it, don't worry about that at the moment. I'm going to hit done, and then here's where I set what I want for disk space usage. So I can use the entire disk, and then I can set to use LVM or an encrypt or not encrypt LVM, or to not use LVM. LVM is logical volume management. That's something we'll talk about a little bit later. So the two biggest options we have here, LVM is a pretty big option, but like I said, we'll discuss that later. So I can choose to use the entire disk, or I can choose to do a custom storage layout. Now, if you want a custom storage layout, that normally means you're wanting something other than defaults. You might be doing like a parallel install with another operating system. That might be a time to use a custom storage layout. Or if you're wanting to manipulate the storage layout and not use the entire disk or change the different volumes that it's going to create. If you are learning Ubuntu for the first time, don't bother. Make sure you know what you're doing. You have a well laid out plan if you do a custom storage layout. Most of the time, we're going to say use the entire disk and go for it. So this gives our file system summary. We have 3 mount points. We have the root, which is the top one here just with the slash. the boot and the EFI. We're doing an Ubuntu volume group, Ubuntu-VG. These are the devices that we're using. When we're happy with all of it, this was all the defaults that we just chose. We hit enter on done. Now it throws a warning here. Yeah, this is going to wipe out your system. Are you sure you want to? You will not be able to return to this or any previous screen once installation is started. So we're saying, yeah, we want to continue. So we're going to go with continue. Okay, it's asking for our name. I'm going to go ahead and put in my username information. I'm going to call this demo-server. I'm going to pick a username. I'm going to be lazy and just use my name of David and a simple password. And then tab down to where it says done is highlighted in green. Hit spacebar or enter. Now this next one is, do you want to install OpenSSH server? And most of the time it's probably going to be yes. OpenSSH server allows you to create an SSH connection to this server for remote admin. So that's something that really makes a lot of sense to do most of the time. In this case, I want to do later on do an manual install of OpenSSH to show you how that's done. So I'm going to skip that. But if this was an actual server that I was getting ready to deploy, I'd hit the space bar to select that and then set SSH identities if I wanted them. So I'm going to uncheck that and tab till I come down here to done, then hit spacebar or enter to move along. Now, OpenSSH has its own screen. All of this is software that is commonly installed, but not quite as common as OpenSSH server. So you can go through and just like we did before, you can scroll through this, hit a spacebar to select any ones you want, or to deselect any ones that you don't want. And then when you're done, tab down to done and hit enter. Now again, we may install some of this software a little bit later on. This is just a nice, easy way for us to be able to install it when we do the initial server install if we want. But anything you choose not to add now can be added later on. Okay, here we go. We are installing the system. Now, this at this point is going to take a little while, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the video, and then I'm going to come back to this a little bit later on. Okay, at this point, our installation is actually complete, and you can see right up here it says installation complete. If we come down here to the bottom line, you'll see it says downloading and installing security updates. Now, I can down here at the bottom, view the full log or cancel update and reboot. If I cancel update and reboot, then it just stops all of these security updates. Probably not a good idea, but it does get me into the system right away. I'm just going to have to go back and manually install those updates later. So at the moment, I'm going to go ahead and let it finish running because I want it to finish all of those security updates before the reboot happens and the server comes online. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it again for a couple of minutes. We will let this finish and I'll pick it back up here as soon as we're done. Okay, so apparently my device decided to stop recording, so I just restarted it and we'll see if we can stitch these two together, but we are now complete. So installation complete. We have finished with all of our updating and we are now ready to either view the full log or reboot. So I am going to use my arrow keys or my tab keys to come down to the bottom and hit reboot now. And that should restart our system. Now, what it'll do on a physical device is it will eject the CD-ROM. And since we're on a virtual machine, it ejects the ISO or dismounts the ISO. So it asks us to remove the installation media and then hit enter. So since it's already removed, we can just hit enter. And when we hit enter, it then should start the reboot process. So this should take it just a little bit to reboot, and then when it comes back up, we should have an operational system ready to use. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it again, and hopefully it will do what it's supposed to do and allow me to resume as soon as we come back up. Okay, so I had to go ahead and stop and restart my virtual machine, and it is restarting and it is loading up now. So you can see several of these things are triggering. Okay, it means it successfully accomplished that particular goal. Reached target, clouded it. Target was the last one, and we're gonna sit here for just a few minutes while it finishes this reboot. Now, when it comes back up, it's going to pop up and give us the option to log in. But then frequently after it does that, it will run something else, a couple of more processes, and then and then it'll give us that login prompt again. If you log in on your first option, then it's fine. It'll go ahead and continue to do stuff in the background. It'll just pop up with the other updates after it's logged in. So now we just wait for the system to come back up. Okay, and here we are. The system has finished rebooting, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. And at this point, my system is up and ready to go. So this is the virtual machine that we will use for the rest of our Ubuntu demo videos as we work through this class.